Hello and welcome into episode 65 of the Calcio Connection podcast, connecting with you, Italian football fans from all over the world. Derby della Madonnina preview. Alex Donno alongside Jerry Mancini. As always, we have a couple of very special guests from the Milan Weekly podcast. Even though I'm a snake, I really enjoy these guys' show. So before we introduce our special guests, let me introduce Jerry. So, Jerry, we've done a couple of Lazio previews in recent episodes, and I've put you front and center, but this time you're going to be the neutral, kind of the referee, the impartial observer. So how are you feeling, sir, heading into the Derby della Madonnina?
Oh, I can give a shit who the fuck wins, to be honest. I want to draw. If I have to choose, I want to draw. I want a 1-1 draw, a 2-2 draw. That's the best thing that can happen for my squad. For my team, Lazio, a tie is beautiful in the outcome of this game. But I won't even be able to watch it because I don't understand who the hell made the schedule this season for Serie A. First off, the Derby is at 12 o'clock, should be at 2:45.
Right.
Let's put Crotone versus Juventus at 2:45. What fucking moron decided to make the schedule? Second, let's put Lazio versus Sampdoria at the same time as the Derby.
Man.
What is going on? So now all of a sudden you lose all the viewers from the Lazio versus Sampdoria game who should be watching the Derby. Then you got this Juventus team playing at 2:45 versus this unknown team. It's all bad. It makes no sense. The logistics, everything makes no sense for viewers. They make money, everything. I don't know. I continue to scratch my head to find out who made the scheduling right before the international break. Inter versus Juventus, and in the afternoon you got Napoli versus Juventus, and in the morning Inter versus Lazio. Inter versus Lazio should have been 2:45 on Saturday, and you have Napoli versus Juventus at 2:45 on Sunday. Now, I would assume that would be the smart thing to do, but knowing Serie A and how they do things, they can't combat anything. So that's just my take on everything. But I'm hoping for an entertaining game for both sides. That's what I want. I want to see those two sides just go at it. I think Inter's more of a depleted side, but now we know why they bought so many players. Maybe Conte was smart in doing so because he kind of knew that this was going to happen with the whole coronavirus. A lot of cases going to happen, a lot of hits, and now he's got enough depth maybe to help him.
Yeah, 6 cases on Inter of COVID-19, and we'll certainly get to that because it's going to be part of the breakdown. Let me introduce the great hosts of the Milan Weekly podcast. Very, very enjoyable. They are the English voice of Radio Rossonera. First, let's bring in Vinny. Vinny, how are you, sir?
I'm doing very good. Thank you for the wonderful intro. And Alex, you're complaining about the schedule. When the fuck did you start watching Serie A this year? This is all it's all been the same thing. So I don't know what the hell he's complaining about, right? But Juventus at 2:45 prime time against a nobody team. There's nothing abnormal about that.
Normal.
But so thank you for having us on, and glad to be part of even though it is a garden snake kind of podcast here, but glad to be here to talk about this upcoming Derby.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, we're so used to capacity crowds of nearly 90,000 at the San Siro, and we're not going to get that this time around. I'm just happy that we're going to be able to watch this game. So let's bring in Steve, who also does an excellent job on Milan Weekly. Steve, how are you, sir?
I'm very good, and I would just like to let everybody that I'm in a great mood. I'm very happy. I'm not negative today. I'm not negative. But what was funny, and you mentioned the players on Inter that had the coronavirus. So yesterday, Vinny pulled up the list, and
that was awesome.
we Google translated it so that we could read it out. And they Google Translate took Bastoni and translated it into Sticks.
First name that came off of that thing, Sticks. Has the, and I'm reading this, I'm like, who the hell is Sticks? And then we put that was awesome. Google Translate, thank you very much. Google so this is your new Primavera player, Sticks.
Yeah, thank you, Alex and Jerry, for having us on. Jerry, look, I don't want to be insulting on your own show there, but there's not many people that are going to be watching Lazio and
I agree.
So
I
the
agree
12
with
o'clock. But the
I-
scheduling is something that's really ridiculous, and I hope we get into something like that, because I'm one that's really hard on Serie A with stuff like that, especially with us overseas. They don't really give us a break and put the primetime show on at the correct time. And besides that, I see that they're using scheduling as always as an excuse of not being able to shift things around there. And Jerry, Alex, we talked before we got on. NFL has been doing a masterful job of moving stuff around to let these teams recuperate from whatever cases of coronavirus they do have, right? So Serie A is unfortunately in that dinosaur stage of a league, and that's the difference between Serie A and unfortunately the EPL that dominates, and Bundesliga that adjusts, right? So.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get into some of our expectations and some of the tactical stuff for this match coming up, and as Jerry mentioned, it is going to be 6 p.m. Italian time, 12 noon Eastern time. All four of us happen to be in that Eastern time zone. I'm in the United States. The three of you guys are up in Canada, so it's going to be a lunchtime affair for the three of us on Saturday. But I'm always curious to hear stories about and you guys are both of Italian heritage, of course, as Jerry and I are as well. But I always love hearing the stories of how you came to support a club, whether it be something passed on through the family, which is, my case with Inter, it was something like that for Jerry as well. But, Steve, I'll start with you. How did you come to support Milan?
Yeah, so for me, Alex and Jerry and everybody listening there, it's a bit. I was a bit of the black sheep, right? My dad, God rest his soul, he was a Juventino fan, but he was that typical Juventino fan where they're gonna win, they're gonna win, right? Nothing, Juve could do nothing wrong, and but to be very honest with you, he was a huge fan of Il Gran Torino. So he was a tailor by trade, and in his little work room there, he had that Gran Torino frame that showed the mountain with all the individual players that passed away. So he always talked about the Torino, and I'll give you a little bit of background why he's talking about Gran Torino. He was much older. I'm 20 years difference from my brother, so they had me very, very late. So you could imagine the soccer knowledge that I retained from that man, looking back in the past, right? So, but I had a lot of friends that were Juve fans, and I was someone who really liked soccer. I like to play, and my aunt, which is my dad's sister, is a nun. She was a nun, and she was actually the first. One of the places where she was set up, the convent there, was in Milan, and when she was there, and she knew that I wasn't the nicest. I wasn't a bad kid, but I was a ball buster. I was a pain in the ass. So she knew that Milan were the devils, and she sent me over a jersey, and she sent me over this, and I still have it. And one day I'll show it, and I'll send you guys the picture. It's like a warm up sweater. Like, it was never to be seen, this sweater. It's a Lotto sweater with the AC Milan in handwriting with the crest of the Scudetto, and she says that there was always a little devil in you, so you should be going for Milan, right? So I took on Milan as a team, and of course butted heads with my dad, and that was fun, and with all my friends. But yeah, so that's my story with, and I just fell in love with them, and I started to watch the Milan in my era. I'm not going to go back to like the Gianni Riviera, but then as the internet came along, you start to look back and what this team did and who the players were, and you fall in love with the champagne football and the superstar owner who decides to become president one day, and you're like, wow, you can't get rid of it. It gets in your veins and you can't get rid of it, right? So that's how I became a Milan fan, and for me, the icing on the cake is I'm still am, and I think he's probably one of the greatest Italian footballers to play, Roberto Baggio. When Roberto Baggio joined Milan, for me, that just put everything together, right? It was something that, wow, like this is out of this world. Like, I have the jersey. I didn't buy it when he was there. I bought it later on when I could have bought it. My dad's not gonna buy me a Milan jersey. Never buy me a jersey. I was lucky to get cleats to play soccer. So I bought it for myself. So
yeah, it's funny you bring up Baggio because the last episode we recorded was right after the Azzurri and their 0-0 draw with Poland, and I had it was way too small for me to put on at this point because I've eaten several hundred pizzas since I was 9 years old. But I had the Baggio Azzurri jersey that I bought during the 1994 World Cup as a 9-year-old kid, so I still keep that. I'm a few Atkins sessions away from being able to fit in that one. And I love,
don't worry about it. I have no jersey that fits me. Even the ones that I buy now don't fit me. These people make it for supermodels. Like, I don't know. I just want to fucking fit in a jersey, man.
So true. It's actually true. I went to go buy the new Lazio jersey last week, and the lime one was a pretty tight fitted, and the blue one was like loose. It's like they did this last year too, where one was fitted and the other one was loose, and I'm like,
really?
what the? Yeah, it's the worst, man. It's the worst.
Sounds like you bought the authentic one, like the one that the players wear, because those always fit tighter. I made that mistake once, and I said, "Oh, I don't mind shelling out, some extra money to get the authentic one because this is going to be awesome." And then they ship it to me, and I'm like Lance Armstrong, like it's completely skin tight. I can't wear this in public,
No. You could only wear it in your home, and when no one judges you. Or no one judges you. It's a safe place, right? So yeah, I get it. So I moved on from jerseys to the zip-ups, right? I find them more comfortable, and I started collecting the Italy zip-ups and the Milan zip-ups. So I'm happy with that. I'm proud of my body, and I'm not gonna slim down for these assholes.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah, and I like how you brought up, some of the butting heads and families. Like my father, who grew up in Milano, his father before him was an Interista, but his older brother, hardcore Milanista, my uncle. And so they were always butting heads at home. And, I am my father's only son. My sister is not really into football, so she doesn't care. But my uncle has two sons. One of them is an Interista. The other is a Milanista. So it's like a family tradition of butting heads. But Vinny, I'd love to hear your story as well. How'd you become a Milanista?
Not as good as a story as Steve, because that story is completely epic. But for me, it's got to be like, 87, 88, 89, those years where my used to go to my cousin's house. He's a couple of years older than me, and he had family in Italy, and they'd always bring him back, Milan stuff. So I was walking into his bedroom and seeing the Van Basten posters, the Gullit, all these, the magazines, and what is this red and black, and what is this red and black, and since those days, just been following Milan. Obviously a lot more now, because back then, other than we had the satellite Rai to watch. But I do have a story for you. Went to Italy in 2011 to watch the Derby, the Derby that we won 3-0, probably the last Derby we won against the Inter. But put my name up to buy a ticket, and my cousin's uncles are there. It's like, no, what are you doing? Like we know people, they're Interistas. No, we're gonna get you tickets, and even maybe go into the dressing rooms. So I start shaking, obviously. So I'm like, okay. This is, I had to send over my driver's license, send over my passport, because, over there, the tickets, you have to have your name on it. This, remember, is 2011. And at this point is where Milan was up 2 points in the Serie A in first place. And the day before I leave, I get a call and saying that, unfortunately, we're not be able to get you tickets. So I thought that they were pulling my leg, right? So unfortunately, I did take a flight. I did do Paris and Milan, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to go to the stadium for that one. So, guys, please remember, never rely on anybody but yourselves. I know they meant well, but if I would have stuck to my plan, I would have been able to watch the game. But the day after we won, we went to the golf course that's associated to Appiano Gentile. I walk in with my Milan polo. They did not want to serve me at the bar for coffee. My uncle has to come and say, no, el mio nipote, it's okay. He doesn't know any better. Then we get onto the golf course, and the security guards come and pick me up. It's like, look, you can't walk around with this. And it's, no, he's a tourist. He doesn't know any better. And you know what? They took me a little stroll around Appiano Gentile, and at the front gates, I spit on the ground and I said, fuck you, Inter. Milan forever. So maybe I was in a bad place at the time. I had a lot of anger inside of me because they don't want to, accommodate me. So that's my story from there. But definitely from the age of 8 years old, it's been Milan. And Alex, I'm sorry to say, people might say you hate you. No, me, I'll hate Inter more than I hate Juventus. It's always going to be Inter forever. Not to the point where me and you would fight after a game, right? We'll bicker. After the game, we'll be hugging and kissing. But to me, it's always going to be that always I hate Inter with a passion.
Here.
Hey,
Yeah, I mean,
Vinny?
for me, it's Juve #1 hatred, but I'll go with Milan 1B. So.
All right. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Hey, Vinny.
Yeah.
Where did you get your flag behind you? Because I can't find a Lazio one like that massive.
Well, obviously, why would Lazio Lotito produce something like that, right? I don't know. First of all, we cannot divulge where we get these flags because Presidente, our Presidente Montreal probably called over there directly the line to Milan, got us these flags. Actually, where did he get them, Steve? I don't know where he got. I think directly from the Milan store, did he not?
I think they're from the Milan store, yeah.
Okay.
Do you guys even have a Lazio store?
Yeah, it's a Lazio style store. It's called. Yeah, I actually bought.
Style.
Yeah, I actually bought some
It's
stuff
all bootleg merch, though, the Lazio store.
What? I'm going to be honest. Lazio makes some nice fucking jerseys, okay? Seriously, they got some nice jerseys in the past 10 years. Other than the Lime one that has debated people in thinking good or bad about it. It actually looks nice when you actually look at it compared to what it looks like on the field. But
it's great how you're trying to convince us that you guys have like really nice jerseys. But go on. It's
the best Lazio jersey for me is when they had Del Monte, the fruit cup, as the sponsor.
Yeah. I love that.
That was the best. Classic. That's if I can I ask Jerry a question? Why does Lazio have so much trouble getting a sponsor on time for this league?
That's a great question. I don't know if it's just Lotito having a hard time making deals with these guys or what it is. Maybe it's Lotito and he doesn't like what's being offered or vice versa. I'm surprised we don't have a sponsor on the jersey yet for Champions League. It blows my mind. Absolutely.
It's something that the two Roman teams have had trouble with all the time, right? And I asked the same question to Romanista there. And he gave me a kind of a story where the sponsor was supposed to be some sort of betting site, and then Italy passed that law where you can't have the betting site as your main sponsor. So that again said, causing a bit of problems for themselves. But I meant to ask you this so many times, and I just want to know, like, why can't we get a sponsor on these Lazio jerseys or these Roma jerseys?
They could have done like Napoli that year, just get different movie posters. You could get different movie posters on your jersey. But here's the true question, Alex. Back in the day, who would win in a street fight, Lotito or Berlusconi? Who's the dirty? I think Lotito is a kind of a dirty kind of fighter. What do you think? I think
Lotito. No,
Berlusconi.
Berlusconi pays people to beat up Lotito.
I was going to say that. Berlusconi would hire some hitman to do his dirty work.
One-on-one, Lotito looks like a crazy guy. Right, offering 110 million for Milenkovic Savic and saying no. These are kind of guys that have these crazy thoughts, But I'm just saying. But
do you think that report about how he was offered 150 million it was actually true for Milenkovic Savic?
Fuck yeah. Steve, that 255 million we spent that year, you don't think that was true? 60 million and now and 35 for maybe not 110, but we said it. It was never going to get that money for that guy ever again.
No. It's usually what happens, but I don't think I don't think someone offered 150.
But I give credit to Lotito in a certain aspect. To him, he has one of the best midfielders in football, right? And money is not. I know people say he's cheap. Is he really cheap when his club is only worth X amount of money? Like you can see it in a pandemic now where people are like, oh, why didn't he spend so much money for the Champions League? Why didn't he open up his pockets? First off, we got 7 players not playing. You calculate the wages on 7 players you fucked up buying. We can go Rizzo Dermisi, 7.5 million we spent. We bought Dennis Vavro last year for 10 million not being used.
Is this the Lazio Hour podcast? I'm just wondering. I made it.
It's always about Lazio when Jerry. It always comes back to Lazio.
It's only because I'm just saying because of the whole people call him cheap. It always bothered me. I used to be that guy too. Then when I really put it into hindsight, first off, it's not a Juventus, Milan, Inter club where they can spend $200-300 million. We don't have that luxury. we're a type of team that has to sell Milinkovic-Savic for 100 million in order to buy players and sell players, like to buy players and grow for the future. It's just that dynamic.
Me and Steve like to call Lazio every single year. Steve, what do we call them? Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah,
they do
Dr.
so good, and when it's time to show up, they completely change around. We don't see them anymore, right? So.
And sorry, Alex, I have to put this in there, and I say this to everybody. For me, Jerry, and I'm not gonna shy away from it. It's not the cheapness the problem. What the problem is with Lazio is these teams have a window. Everybody has a window, and Lazio's window was there. The only thing he had to do was invest, and the problem that he had to invest in was depth, and they didn't have that depth. So then, the thing is, I don't mind if Lazio doesn't want to spend, and I think he's smart sometimes of not spending. The thing is, then the Laziali and the Romanista, they cannot cry after. Don't cry that you're not going to win a trophy. Don't cry that you're not going to be in Champions League. I don't want to hear the crying after. You understand? It's the same thing from Roma fans. Oh my God, we're the best team. Milan, you're down in 7th. Hey, shut up. Shut up, because I have 18 Scudetti. I have 7 Champions League. Roma and Lazio don't have anything close to that combined. And I want them to change. I want Serie A to change. Do I want them to beat Milan? Absolutely not. But did I want in this 10-year span the Juve reign to end? Absolutely yes. And my Milan was nowhere close to being a contender there. So if it would have to be Lazio, or it would have to be Roma or Napoli, I don't mind. But then if you don't want to invest when it's your time and your window, then don't complain. This is what I'm fighting with these people on Twitter talking about Milan. I am not negative. I'm just not happy with Milan in 7th, 6th, or 5th place. I'm not happy with Milan having 4th spot as their ultimate goal of the season. Fuck you. I don't want to finish 4th. I want to win the fucking Scudetto. I want to go to Champions League. I want my 8th Champions League. And I say 8 and maybe 8.5 because we fucked up one in 2003 in fucking Istanbul. So I call that the 0.5 Champions. 2005. The fucking
And we want to know what did Lazio do with that fucking Biglia money? That's what we want to know. $20 million.
Yeah.
Masterclass. Sorry,
I want to get into, guys. I do want to circle back a little bit later into kind of memory lane with some favorite Derby memories. But before that, I think it's time to get into kind of what we're expecting from this matchup on Saturday. And I'll go through what I'm expecting Inter starting 11 could look like. And it's not rocket science to come up with a lot of players. So on the other hand, it seems who's probably going to start in this one, maybe with 1 or 2 question marks. But I'm expecting Inter, of course, to have Handanovic in net. The back 3 very much affected by COVID-19. We're certainly not going to see Milan Skriniar. More than likely not going to see Alessandro Bastoni, although there is some chatter that he might be able to get enough negative COVID tests in time to play, but I'm not convinced. So I'm expecting in front of Handanovic to have a back 3 of Kolarov at left center back, which I think is a huge opportunity for Milan because the guy is a gray-haired traffic cone. In the center of that back 3, Stefan de Vrij, who, of course, I do like very much. And on the right side, Danilo D'Ambrosio, who's, a little bit above average. He does tend to play well against Milan, so maybe he'll have a few moments there. Then at wing backs, it's certainly going to be Perisic starting on the left because Ashley Young has COVID-19. Certainly going to be Hakimi starting on the right. There's a kind of a question on the 3-man midfield, even though there are only 4 midfielders available because Sensi is on a red card, so he's suspended. Nainggolan and Gagliardini both have COVID-19. So even though Christian Eriksen is available, it would be very Conte not to start him. I'm not expecting to see him start. So I think it's going to be Brozovic, Vidal, and Barella as the 3-man midfield. And I'm sure Eriksen will probably come off the bench around maybe the 75th minute or maybe the 89th minute because sometimes Conte just likes to say fuck you to that guy. And then the strikers, Lukaku and Lautaro. And I'm sure at some point in the second half, Alexis will probably be the first guy off the bench. So that's what I'm expecting Inter's starting 11 to look like with Eriksen more than likely on the bench. So, Steve, I'll start with you, and this is kind of a two-part question. A, how do you expect Milan to line up? And B, how do you expect them to really try and take advantage of Inter's back line, especially Kolarov, because he's a very good dead ball set piece specialist, but as far as, running, that's not really an option for him these days.
Yeah, so look with Milan, I think if we go with what we talked about on Milan Weekly podcast the other day, the whole big question mark is Romagnoli, right? Is he ready to play back from injury? Do we start him? If Gabbia would not have picked up this COVID case, I would not have started Romagnoli. But now we kind of have no choice. So I'll go with Kajar and Romagnoli at center back. On the right back, it's going to be Calabria. Left back is going to be Theo Hernandez. Then in the middle, guys, on the right hand side, I haven't shied away from it. For me, it's a weak spot for Milan, but I think Salchicha Maker is gonna make his first Derby appearance on the right hand side, and we're gonna go with, of course, Kessie and Benacer, and then up top, look, guys. I don't know what's gonna happen. Is Ibra gonna be able to start? That's the big question mark. He hasn't trained a lot. He's fresh off the negative result on his COVID test. So we don't know what's gonna happen there. But let's say, for example, he can start, which the guy's a freak of nature. I wouldn't be surprised. He's gonna be there. I would like to see Chanalobulu has deserved to stay there too. And now with Rebic hurt, it's a toss-up, right? You want to put Diaz there, you want to put Leao there. It depends how aggressive Milan wants to play, right? So,
does that sound about right, Vinny?
Yeah, no, I agree with Steve. And by the way, we do make up. Steve makes up his own names of the Milan players. Sausage maker or / salad maker, Çalhanoğlu.
Salad maker, I heard, but I like sausage maker as well.
What it comes down to, there's been a lot of talks about Rebic, and it might take a miracle for him to come in. To attack the defense, it's going to be off those wingers, guys. And people seem to forget that. Oh, look at all these COVID cases at Inter. It might be an easy. No, it's not going to be an easy one. Inter on paper has a better team. We were saying that they do have the edge of winning this game, and that says a lot, not having all these players. But it's going to be off those wingers. Would it be like, on Tio's side, is Rebic going to come in? Are we going to have Castileo and, a sausage maker on the other side? But for me, that midfield, Frank the Tank, he's got to be there. Frank the Tank is we've been Team Frank, Steve and I. He's kind of that general in there. Tonali, he played for the under-21. Well, kind of under-21 when it was with the under-20 there, and that whole mess that was going on there. But Benacer, even playing today, we'll see how everybody comes back and fit. But yeah, for Ibra, obviously Ibra has to start over there. But we ain't winning. We're not giving ourselves the best chances if we got to go with the Colombos of the world, or we do have Diaz that could be like ace up our sleeve, because we don't know what to expect from the guy. He's been good so far, but I think it's going to be off those wings, guys. And if Castileo keeps on running like a chicken with his head cut off, it's not going to be good. So we're keeping the faith, but definitely off those wings.
Yeah, for me there, Alex, it's the battle on that right or left hand side there. It's Hakimi versus Theo Hernandez. It's who's gonna be playing defense more, and I think that's gonna dictate what's gonna happen throughout the game, because those guys are not really known to play defense. We shelter. When Rebic is there, we do shelter Theo Hernandez a bit, because Rebic just does so much work. And if we're gonna ask Çalhanoğlu to do that type of work, we've seen at the beginning of his Milan career, it takes a toll on his game, right? He needs to be more offensive, and I think he has the will to play that defensive game, but then just doesn't have enough on the offensive side, right? So that's Milan's big problem, is that once we transition and go on the offensive, in that final third, we're out of ideas sometimes, right? So, and that's when the frustration starts to mount, right? Which last year in the first 45 minutes, where I've said multiple times, Milan played probably the best 45 minutes in their whole calendar year last year, and I'm also including the 18-game winning streak against Inter. That first 45 minutes going into the dressing room with the worst lead in sports, 2-0, you saw a different Milan, right? You saw a Milan that was confident. You saw a Milan that had different ideas and wanted to win, and was not playing this derby for a 1-1 draw or a 0-0, playing scared. And I say it all the time. The derby is a different game. Take the two derby matches away from the Serie A schedule, and they're a little championship in itself. And for me, I'm a realist. Like, I'm not gonna say my team's gonna win all the time. I do want them to win, but I want them to leave everything out on the pitch. If we lose and they left, or if we tie but we left everything out on the pitch, that's all I could ask for. I can't ask for more than that.
So I think that's probably a good segue into predictions.
Sorry. What does the Lazialista think out of all of this? Does he have any thoughts? He's over there. He's all alone. He's like, he's thinking about Lotito. He's thinking about the eagle flying around.
He's watching the Bills and the Titans. That's what he's doing.
He's in the zone.
He has a bet.
The Bills. If we're gonna talk about the Bills, they're shit. I don't know how they're 4-0, man. This team's. I'm watching them in the background. They're garbage. They're back to life. Don't worry, they're garbage. But what do I think about this Inter game? I think this is a blessing in disguise for Inter. You got freaking what's his name, Gagliardini, not starting on Saturday now because of coronavirus. Like, are you kidding me? This is a blessing in disguise. I don't want that guy to have coronavirus. Don't get me wrong, but you got this guy who's now. Alex is probably ecstatic because he doesn't have to see this guy in the middle of the pitch.
No, and it's funny you bring that up, because I guarantee you, if Gagliardini wasn't barred from playing, he would be starting, because Conte always starts him in big matches, even though the guy, sometimes if I really want to frustrate myself, guys, when I'm watching an Inter game that Gagliardini is starting in, I'll just only watch Gagliardini for like 5 minutes, and over that 5-minute span, he usually makes 6 or 7 mistakes, and I'll watch him just individually to drive myself crazy. Yet Conte loves him. I think he's one of those players that managers see qualities in that fans just don't. A little bit. He tracks back defensively. He tackles hard. He runs, although he's got no touch and no end product whatsoever. And he's a yellow card machine. But it is what it is.
No. He's sorry, Jerry. He's Conte's Giaccherini at Inter.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
What a great analogy, Steve. The Conte's Giaccherini. Whatever happened to Giaccherini? He fucking made the national team. Fucking Giaccherini.
But he played a really good tournament.
That's true.
It was useful for us.
Very true. Very true.
But I agree with Vinny on what he said on Milan session. Like this is. He said, don't get ahead. I know that he mentioned that they've been on a X amount of winning streak and they haven't lost a game since last year. And he's like, don't get your hopes up. We need to be realistic that the process is still building. We still are far away from where we're supposed to be. It's all nice that we're winning, but and it's true what he said. And the problem, the point I'm trying to get to now is if they were to lose on Saturday against Inter, I think that Milanisti fans need to not overreact and freak out that they lost to Inter.
Guaranteed. This is a guaranteed freak out moment. The internet, the Twitter world will explode if they lose. It shouldn't, but unfortunately, Gary, that's the world that we live in. And that's why it's good for us, myself, Vinny, Alex, and yourself to talk to normal people sometimes face to face like this, because through 100 or 240 characters, whatever it is on Twitter or an Instagram picture, just people, they can't grasp the reality of logic. You understand? Like, if you as a sports fan think that your team can go undefeated, it's a miraculous thing. There's so many things that have to go right for you to go undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
that it's just not logical, right? So you have to take things in a championship like Serie A as a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's you can't judge it on sample sizes. You have to judge it on what did I do. Let's say if you take it, you dissected the first half and the second half of the season. Okay, I'm okay with that. If you even do it by quarter, do it in spurts of quarter. There's 38 games divided by 4 and see what you get, right? But if people judge and they do a complete 360 after one game, it's you're asking for clicks, you're asking for attention, and like intelligent people they're not on board with that anymore. They don't want to see that. They don't want to hear the positivity all the side because there is some negative, right? You find negatives at Lazio. You know, me and Vinny weekly we find negatives at Milan. And Alex, I'm pretty sure when you talk Inter, you'll find negativity on that side too because it's a reality. Always. You want your team to be better. You want your team to win. The ultimate goal of Serie A is to win the Scudetto. People forget that. They're looking at the money now and they want the top 4 spots, but the ultimate goal is to win the Scudetto, not to finish 4th. And if it is now to finish 4th, we're in big shit, guys. We're in big shit because that evil empire will never get dethroned, and that's the problem.
I just think that Milan has a good team here to win on Saturday. I wouldn't be discouraged. They're doing a lot of good things of building a team in a period where they're financially hurt and have taken a big loss. You got guys like Salamakers in the back, in the middle, and I can't pronounce his other name. Kajar. You got there's good Gabbia. You got Teo Hernandez, who on a steal, if anything, was a steal.
And by the way, I'm so glad Steve brought up the matchup between Teo Hernandez and Achraf Hakimi because to me, I'm going to be watching the two of them very closely. I think that matchup could very well decide the match, and I really think that that matchup is worth the price of admission because it may come down to, like you said, it may come down to more who plays more defense than who is more prolific offensively. But Jerry, since you're the impartial, why don't I start with you? Do you have a feeling on a prediction how this game's going to go? Who's going to win if anybody wins?
I want to touch on that actually, just on a side note about Teo Hernandez versus Hakimi. That's gonna be a good matchup. Hakimi is very fast, and Lazio kept him in check in their previous match. And a guy like Hernandez, who in the limited games I've seen with Milan, he has really improved his game. Last year he was caught out of position a lot of time. He's a very offensive player, but his defensive game has shown that he's a step behind. I find this year he's not a step behind. He's able to keep up with players. He knows where to be now, and he doesn't take that foul and commits that yellow card in the early going of the season. And I think that he can really keep up with Hakimi. How I see this match playing out, with the amount of coronavirus cases that are hitting Inter, and I don't know if Zlatan starts this match. The edge is going to Milan. I think that Zlatan. I never seen a player like Zlatan that can make a difference in a whole squad. Like seriously, I've been watching football for the last couple of 3-4 years now because TV rights suck here, and TLN didn't have it for the longest time. And I guarantee Vinny can probably vouch that. But just the coverage sucks here. But just watching the last 4 or 5 years, and Zlatan. This guy can make a difference, and if he's in the lineup on Saturday, that can really give the edge to Milan. I'm going to go.
He's going to score. If he's in the lineup, he's going to score. Like I can tell you that right now, he's going to score.
But what it comes down to, guys, we're talking about Zlatan. We're talking about that he's going to be on the pitch and this and that. Zlatan has been fantastic. Don't get me wrong. He's missed a couple of sitters. But this is the first game, and Steve and I have talked about this. It's the first game since, post-COVID. This means something, right? Yes, we beat Juventus on a good... What the fuck did that mean? Did it hurt their Scudetto chances? Fuck you, Lazio, that you didn't take your fucking chances because we gave you that chance there. Everybody, Inter, fuck you, Inter, as well, because we gave you that chance there, right? But it's the first time that this, in the end, if we lose, right, what we've done in the last 6 to 7 months, for most people, will go down the fucking drain. And people are going to forget about how many games we won and this and that. We want Milan to win when it matters. We need to win on Saturday and show everybody, hey, we're for fucking real. When you come to play at San Siro, when you're playing Milan, be scared. We don't need these Beneventos and these Spezias to come and think that they can beat us again. Now, if Inter loses, right, don't get me wrong, people are still going to look at that team as like they still have a chance. We need to win for the mentality of the team, right? And yes, Ibra brings a big difference. Don't get me wrong, right? And Rio Avenue, that first game against Rio Avenue, that was one sign there. It's like, we're turning in the right direction, but we need to win to mean something. And that's what the message has been. We're trying